Get ready to hear the truth about America on a show that's not immune to the facts with your host, Dan Bongino.
All right, welcome to the Dan Bongino Show. Producer Joe, how are you today?
It's the end of the week, brother. Thank goodness.
Yeah, Joe and I are having a good laugh before the show because I'm here. Some of you have seen me and some of you are podcast listeners. I forget this young kid. He wanted to take a picture. I told him I'd give him a shout out on the Friday show. You know who you are. I'm sorry I forgot your name. I'm horrified. But a really cool cat. But I was laughing with Joe because at least 20 people came up to me, you know who you are too, and said, hey, where's Producer Joe? I'm like, I thought you wanted to meet Dan Bongino. No, forget you. I want to meet Producer Joe. Oh, dude, it was funny.
Oh, thank
you.
you.
I see your Twitter's building up too, by the way. People, it's Joe Haas with an O, not H-A-Z. Joe Haas, H-O-Z-1.
You asked the other day and you received, or I received, yes.
Our audience, you guys are the best. I know I've been down for the last 2 days on the show. I'm back. I was a little upset. We're in a fight here. It's going to be some serious topics today, but the kid is back. And yes, I just called myself the kid. It's an inside joke with my wife. She's cringing right now. But I know, I love her. That's funny. She drives her nuts. That's why I like saying it. So once in a while, I like to mess with her. All right, today's show brought to you by our buddies at Brickhouse Nutrition. I'm happy to have these guys on board. Folks, they have one of the best muscle building products out there. It's good for you, just your general looks, too. Listen, we all want to look good, right? There's a little vanity in all of us. Yeah. The product's called Foundation. Now, all I ask you if you're going to try this product, because it's like having 2 extra gas tanks in the gym. It's not only creatine. Creatine's been around a while. These guys mixed it with ATP to give it like a double whammy, ATP to give it a double whammy boost. It's like having 2 extra gas tanks in the gym. All I ask before you try this stuff, and again, the reviews I get on this are absolutely spectacular, is take the mirror test. The proof is in the pudding. I haven't gotten any negative email. It's overwhelmingly positive. Try the stuff. Give it 7 days to load, work a little bit, and then look at yourself 7 days later. You're going to love it. It's called Foundation. It's a creatine ATP mix. It's available at brickhousenutrition.com/Dan. That's brickhousenutrition.com/Dan. Also give a shot to Dawn to Dusk. It's our energy product. It's 10-hour time-released energy for you. Works better than any other product on the market. Go give it a shot, Dawn to Dusk. They're both available at brickhousenutrition.com/Dan. And you can link to them for my email list if you're on my email list as well. There's a link at the top. Okay. Sorry, that was a deep breath. On a more serious note, so due to the scheduling issues and how Joe and I have been recording, I didn't want to get into the town hall because I didn't feel like I had the time. And the time we were recording, I would have cut off some stuff. The town hall, I mean the CNN town hall with Dana Lash. Now, I was with Dana today on the set at NRA TV here at CPAC. I had some time to talk with her. And did you happen to see any of it, Joe? It was a little late. I know you have to go to sleep early.
No, I saw some this morning. I saw some clips at CBN.
Yeah. Folks, listen, I can't say this enough. CNN held a town hall under the premise that it was going to be an open dialogue about targeted violence, school violence, gun safety, and things like that. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. Now, let me just say in advance, and I can't say this is not some phony caveat you throw out there to virtue signal to anyone. I'm not doing that. I don't know what it's like to be involved in an incident like that. These are kids. I got an email from a guy I already told you about that was horrifying. He was at the scene. He described to me some of what he saw. It was so deeply disturbing that you couldn't read the email and not come away moved. I also listened yesterday. I don't know if you saw it. A couple of days ago. To the White House briefing on the issue where Trump invited a number of the families involved, not only in this incident, but in Newtown and Sandy Hook as well. Yeah. I listened to a father get up. The father, I was stopped in my tracks. He's like, my daughter's gone. She's gone. Like, I'm never going to see her again. He couldn't even think of the name of the cemetery. He said, if I would have known, I would have been there myself. I would have went. I would have went to the school if I would have known this happened. It was so heartbreaking that you really couldn't watch it, and hold it together. The problem is right now, People aren't talking anymore about solutions and things that'll work. We're focused almost exclusively right now on the raw emotions at the expense of fixing what's a crisis right now. Here's what I mean by this, folks. This was a horrible tragedy, and God bless these kids for speaking up. They have an absolute right to their viewpoint, and they are a valuable voice in this. I absolutely mean that. Mm-hmm. The problem is when we were in the Secret Service, a lot of times we were involved in things where, granted, not anywhere remotely close to the crisis these kids dealt with, Joe, but we had some really serious stuff happen. And there were some heavy emotions around it. I think of an incident over in Jamaica when we were caught in downtown Kingston in a really nasty situation we had to get out of. The situation didn't end. In other words, there was no time to focus on the emotions of it. We should focus on the emotions here. The nation needs to grieve and these kids need to heal. But we also, at the same time, simultaneously have to have a very serious conversation about, Joe, what's an ongoing threat right now. We've already seen people just in the last few days, school attackers, targeted violence kids who were planning attacks or looking at planning attacks already stopped. This is a crisis right now. I'm going to leave you with this thought on this because I want to move on to some other issues involving this and gun safety with this. Are we going to have that conversation? Or are we just going to scream at each other? What happened to Dana last night was disgusting. Dana goes out there as the spokeswoman for the NRA. And let me tell you, I have a newfound respect for Dana Lash after yesterday. She walks into a situation where she knows she is going to be public enemy number one. She has one of the young ladies involved in it who said some things to her about being a mother, and Dana sat back and took it all and answered the questions and answered them responsibly. Mm-hmm. As she left, I got this directly from her. They couldn't get out of there without security. There's allegations, people scream, burn her, burn her. What is this, a witch hunt? Folks, we have to start focusing right now. This is a crisis now. Now, we can sit here and talk all day, but the reason I'm bringing up the father, and I'm sorry this is a little disjointed, but it's an emotional conversation, is the father who moved me absolutely said something we should all pay attention to. What he said was, we can have this conversation about guns, but that's not the conversation right now. The conversation right now is, how do we secure the damn schools? Yep. We got security at banks. We got security at sports stadiums. We got security down here with the Secret Service at CPAC. But our kids, what do we have? We have a bunch of flowery rhetoric and a bunch of crap. Are we going to secure the damn schools or not? This is a pressing issue. Does this matter or does it not? Are we going to focus exclusively, Joseph, on the emotions, or are we going to problem solve as well? When this involved protectees in the Secret Service, and I was there, Joe, believe me when I tell you, the special agent in charge of the detail, if you focused on, you got lost in the emotions, will pull you aside and say, get it together. Yep. Now, I'm not talking about the kids. There's no getting it together after that. Right. But I'm talking about the other secondary and tertiary figures using this. It is time to talk about actually securing the schools. And the problem I'm having right now is people are not being realistic, Joe. I had a guy confront me here at CPAC. He was some liberal goofball. He tries to do an ambush interview, which is comical because I've only, been, quote, ambush interviewed like 10,000 times. There's nothing you're going to ask me that you're going to ask me in an ambush I haven't been hit with before. I've run for office 3 times, and I have, a conservative profile, so people come after me, which is fine. I'm not like anybody's victim. Don't get me wrong. Guy hits me up, Joe, and the Secret Service is there at CPAC, and he goes, well, how do you feel? You're in a gun-free zone right now. I said, you know what? Wise ass, that's really funny you say that. And he's like, can I tape this? I go, no, you can't tape it, but if you want to go right ahead, it's perfectly legal. Unlike you, I'm not looking to take other people's rights. But he didn't have time to get the camera because he was too slow, and I think he didn't expect the response. Yeah. I said, this is a gun-free zone. You know why it's a gun-free zone? Because it's guarded by men with guns. Boom! In the Secret Service, what I used to do. And by the way, he goes, then he comes back. I'll give him credit. He was actually a little savvier than some of these other ambush interviewers. He goes, yeah, but they're government guns, and the government should have guns. I say, That's hysterical because you're a lefty kook and you argue all the time about how the cops are horrible, how they're attacking people in inner cities, how the cops are violent. I said, you make that same argument as you argue that only the cops should have guns. Which is it? I said, and secondarily, let me tell you something. I said, everybody here feels safe. You know why everybody feels safe? Because men with guns in the Secret Service and the police department are here in force with a lot of guns, with a lot of powerful guns. By the way, as a strong deterrent to a bad guy with a gun coming in here, unlike the schools which don't have that. I said, chew on that. I said, and secondly, if you're guaranteeing me, Joe, that I'm going to get a government bodyguard like the President of the United States and that effectively we all have now falling in the Secret Service bubble, make that argument. Are we all going to get that? So that's not what you're saying. What you're saying is what? The elites get government guns? But you and I, Joe, when we dial 911, we have to wait 10, 15 minutes for a police officer to show up. By the time, we're probably already dead.
Yeah.
I have rarely been offended by an ambush interview, but this guy quickly realized that was a stupid question. You're in a gun-free zone, protected by guns. What is wrong with these people? Couple more things on this. I want to move on because there are a lot of stories here, but
I got to say, this guy picked the wrong time for the ambush.
And
on the
Joe,
wrong guy.
You know me well,
Dude.
man, for a long time.
Yeah.
I'd been at it with NRA TV from 8:30 to 2. I'll be back tomorrow if you want to watch, NRATV.com. You can check us out on our Facebook page, too. I'll be back with Grant. But I was tired. Yeah. I hadn't eaten. I was exhausted. I've been talking for, 4 or 5 straight hours when you factor in breaks and things like that. Yeah, I was beat. I mean, I was really tired. He grabs me on the way out. I hadn't eaten. And he's like, you could tell he's one of these snarky snot-nosed, but you're in a gun-free zone. Yeah, protected by guns, you idiot. Did you not figure that out? So let me get this straight. When you go into school, you're suggesting we should set up magnetometers and armed guards around every classroom? Good, I'm with you. Excellent. But that's not what he's saying. Right. What is their mantra? We don't need to bring guns in schools. Really? Tell that to the bad guys. Because the bad guys they don't care. We don't need guns in schools? You think the bad guys are following? What is wrong with you? One other thing. Matt Bevin, the governor of Kentucky, has a piece. It's a video piece. I don't know who videoed it or whatever. But he gives a really incredible answer. I like Matt a lot. The governor, Matt Bevin. We've had him on CBN before, actually, when I was filling it over there. Someone comes up to him and asks him about gun control. I don't know if it's a liberal or not. And he makes a great point. He said, listen, I grew up here. And when we grew up, we brought our 22s to school. We left them in the back of the truck in the parking lot. He goes, I remember taking mine on the bus to school and showing it to my friend. He said, guns have been around forever. Something's changed in the culture. Folks, guns aren't new. The use of guns aren't new. Semi-automatic rifles aren't new. The 5.56 round isn't new. They have been around a long time. This school shooting, these school shooting incidents we've seen, that is new, a relatively new phenomenon. Granted, they've happened, but this is relatively new. Are we going to have a conversation about what's changing in the culture with video games, bathing our kids in, pornography and violence and violent? I'm not blaming the video. Please don't. I'm not suggesting that at all. I'm just saying that, folks, when you combine all of this, let me just put together for you a really terrible picture here for a minute. I don't need to sound macabre. Combine broken families. Combine that with kids who sit at home and they're being attacked on social networks all day. I mean, Joe, if you and I were bullied in school by one kid, when you left school, it was over, right?
Yeah.
Now you go home and social media, these kids are just pummeled on Instagram. Look at you, you're fat, your hair's the wrong color, you got glasses on, I don't like your teeth. It never ends. Bathe them in pornography and violence and violent movies. And what do you have a recipe for disaster? It's something about the culture. And the problem is the left doesn't want to have this conversation about the culture because why? This is important. The why matters, Joe. Mm-hmm. Once it turns to a conversation about the culture, they have to acknowledge something, Joe. Values.
Yeah.
And acknowledging values forces the left to acknowledge, what do we always talk about, Joe? An objective standard for what's right and what's wrong. Mm-hmm. Because we can't measure values, in other words, what we value is good, and what we don't value because it's bad, if there is not some common metric of what those values are, what is good. Folks, please don't lose me on this. This is very important. The left wants a relative culture. They don't want a culture that navigates off a North Star. In other words, Joe, thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not lie. These are objective values.